Welcome back, everybody, to West Explains Best. We're doing another Kuta software worksheet tutorial on graphing inequalities. This one's kind of like the very beginning, basic introduction to inequalities, so I'll do my best to explain it. Here I kind of listed an answer key, not an answer key, but a key in terms of understanding how to interpret inequalities and their symbols. So here we have the less than, greater than signs. Notice how it's not equal to, so it can't include the number. Okay, we're going to use, now for people that are in high school, most of the time you're going to see open dot and closed dot. Once you get to college, you're going to see parentheses like this. Okay, but essentially anytime you have an open dot or less than, greater than sign, you're thinking parentheses, or an open dot. From high students, you're thinking parentheses. Okay, now for less than or equal to or greater than equal to, you're thinking closed dot, but for my classes, you're thinking brackets. Brackets means you include the number that is on it. Okay, now let's apply what this means. In the first example, we have n is less than or equal to -5. What does this mean? Well, we know if n equals -5, we're just talking about 1 point, one solution. There's only one answer. It's -5. Anytime we have less than an inequality, greater than an inequality, we're talking about a range of values. So what are the range of values? What numbers can we input for n that make this a true statement? Well, there's a whole bunch. We could put in, well, let me highlight it again. We could put in -10 would satisfy that. -10 is less than or equal to -5. We could put in -20 is less than or equal to -5. We could put in -5.1 is less than or equal to -5. We could even put in -5. Why? Even though it's not less than, it is equal to, as this inequality, that's way too big, as this inequality suggests. Okay, so obviously there's a lot of answers. There's an infinite number of answers to this problem. So how do we represent that? Graphically is the best way. Now, you've probably seen in the past that you put a closed dot for when it's this symbol. Okay, when you see this symbol, it's a closed dot, meaning it can include -5, and that's true. And then we go to all the values that are less than. Okay, because the variable here is less than or equal to -5. Less than means we are graphing to the left where the numbers get smaller. Okay. Now, for my classes, we're not going to use the closed dot. We are going to use the bracket. The bracket is very similar. It includes -5, but this is just what you're going to see in college. This is something that's easier to type in for computer programs and the programs you're going to use in college and so forth. So we're going to get in the habit of using the bracket. So from now on, I'm not going to say open or closed dot. I'm going to say brackets or parentheses. Okay. So our solution is very simple. It's just this. We have this bracket at -5, including -5, and we're talking about all the values that are less than it. Actually, let me leave that up there. Okay. Let's go on to let's go to number 2. Okay. Now, anytime you see the number here and we have the variable by itself, which that's the case, we know we're going to have something on 5. We're going to look to the symbol here. So we know we're going to be using a bracket, but which way is it pointing? That's important. If we have n is less than or equal to 5, again, less than, we're talking about numbers to the left because they need to get smaller. N needs to be smaller than 5. So we're going to put a bracket here. Now, notice how I don't have the bracket facing this way and then the arrow this way. Okay? The little openings to the bracket need to point in the same direction as the arrow. So I have the bracket pointing this way. We don't use the closed dot. Okay? In my class, you guys adjust based on what your teacher's telling you, okay, for all the viewers out there. But the bracket indicates it's equal to, and we go to the left because we're talking about all the values that are smaller than that. All right, let's do, I guess, number 4. This one's a little bit different. Okay, we know we're going to be putting something on 2. Just keep that in mind because we have a variable by itself, and we have 2 on the other side. Now, this is different. Well, first off, we have a greater than sign, not equal to, so we know we're going to be using a parenthesis, but which way is it facing? Here we see that we have r is greater than 2. What inputs for r will make this a true statement? 3, 4, 10, 100. Notice how I'm getting numbers bigger. Okay, bigger means to the right, so this is greater than. Anytime we have a variable greater than a number, we're talking about to the right, all the values to the right of that number. Now, can 2 be a solution? And the answer is no, because it cannot be equal to it. There's not a line underneath the inequality, so it can't be equal to it. So that's why we're going to use a parenthesis. So if we know we're going to be going to the right, we know we need to have a parenthesis facing to the right. So we're going to have an inequality that looks like that. Okay, so we're not using an open dot like that. Okay, we're not doing that anymore, unless your teacher is telling you. In my class, we're doing the parenthesis. That indicates that we're not including 2. The bracket would mean we're including 2. We're not including 2, and we're going to the right. All these other ones are fairly similar. Okay, I guess probably some of the ones that are trying to trick you, ones like this where it has the variable on the right this time, you need to interpret. Don't have a rule in place. So, oh, if it's on the left or if it's facing a certain way, if it's facing this way, I graph to the right. Don't do that. Okay, you can't come up with rules based on just which direction the inequality is facing. You have to interpret. Interpret this as v is less than or equal to, okay, -5. So we're talking about if it's less than -5, we're talking about to the left, less than. So we need to find -5 again. Okay, we need to include a bracket, and we need to talk about the values that are smaller than -5. So this one, and did we have a -5 up here? Yeah, this one and this one are identical, even though they're just kind of switched around. So don't say, oh, if it's pointing to the left, that means I graph to the left. Because then you could say, oh, it's pointing to the right, I graph to the right. No, don't do that. You have to interpret it based on where the variable is in relation to that inequality, okay? So just be careful with those ones. Like this one's trying to trick you, and I think that's it. Okay, the other one should be pretty straightforward. Okay, this one's trying to trick you, this one's trying to trick you. Heads up on those. Write an inequality for each graph. So these ones don't have the parentheses. Let me go ahead and in brackets, let me go ahead and do that for you. Okay, so there we go. That one's fixed. That one's fixed, 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 and fixed. Okay, these are good problems to practice. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to list the number that the bracket or the closed dot lies on. So here we see 5. It's on 5. Now, the arrow's pointing to the left. That means we need to have the variable. Okay, we can pick any variable. Let's pick, I don't know, m this time. The variable is going to be less than that number. And because it's a bracket, a closed dot in this case, we're going to say it can be less than or equal to. So if we have it going to the left, the variable needs to be less than, and then we see that it can be equal to, less than or equal to that number. Less than or equal to. Going to the left, less than, equal to. Okay, that's arrow to the left, by the way. Don't just base it. Now, is this a correct answer? Let me rewrite it over here. Is this a correct answer? M? Like that. Is that correct answer? Yes, it is. Both of these are saying the same thing. That's why don't get in the habit of being, oh, the inequality points a certain way. No, it's all in relation to where it is in regard to the variable. Let me do like one more of these, and I think you guys got it. Here, number 20 is good. So number 20, we have -1, so you're going to write -1 here. Okay, and now we need to figure this out in relation to the variable. Well, it's an open dot in this case. Okay, we already discussed this. It's going to be a parenthesis, all right? So that means we're not doing or equal to. Okay, we're not using that. So it's just going to be a less than or greater than sign. In this case, it's pointing to the left again. So that means we need to have the variable less than, not equal to, and I don't know, let's just choose x. So x is less than those values because the arrow is going to the left. So we have -1 on the other side of the inequality, and that represents that. So I hope you found this helpful for all those students that are maybe seeing inequalities for the first time in algebra, or in this case, for my students that are in advanced topics. Again, this is the key. This will help you. Thank you for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you next time.